as it was titled, the theme of this evening is what is direct experience and living more of your life in direct experience. Through meditation, we're able to abide in presence more of the time, and the observer gets stronger, and the observer makes a lot of interesting connections in the observation of oneself, one's minds, one's feelings, one's body, it's all really good, important. But this is all part and parcel of the self, the separate self, the self that studies the self and all of its activities, all of its, wherever it goes. And that becomes limiting. It serves us, and then we're still living in duality, in the dualistic world of self, studying the self. And there needs to be a nudge to let go, to further relax, to just simply relax and let go. And in that, there's presence, there's an effortlessness, there's a naturalness, there's a continuity of our experience, because obviously we're human and we have bodies and we have personalities and we move through the world in the unique ways that we do. And I'll speak from my experience. There's such a quieting. We're not as much entertained by our thoughts and this perception of ourselves as separate and me. And it's more of a letting go and living in direct experience, living in presence. On the progressive path, it's much more of a practice to achieve results, to become more attained, more free, but also to get somewhere. And in the direct path, it's abandoning that. It's really a letting go and trusting in presence, in one's own innate experience moment to moment. And there's a nakedness. There's a kind of nakedness within that, because one can't have it as the self wants to have things. It doesn't work that way. Instead, this relaxation or surrender, letting go, there's a lot of not knowing, but yet being in the experience we're having each moment. So like Vipassana practice is a preparation for this, because in Vipassana practice, you're sitting and you're not having an object of awareness. You're not focusing on your breath. You might in the beginning, but the practice itself has to do with choiceless awareness. And in the choiceless awareness, one begins to see and experience firsthand that everything's changing. Everything's coming and going. And we are that. We are the coming and going. So through inquiry, to get even more interested in that, the central question comes around, well, who am I? If everything's changing, am I my mind? Am I my thoughts? Am I my feelings? Am I my body? So this kind of inquiry starts to really loosen it all up. And if one's lucky, well, I wouldn't even say if one's lucky, if just by doing this kind of inquiry, there's a natural quieting down of the mind. There's a natural recognizing that if I'm not these ways I take myself to be, but they're just visitors that come and go, and to use myself as an example, there's a really profound letting go that happens. And there's just not the entertaining of these things as much, not nearly as much as what used to be there. So there's silence, and there's this presence. There's this more and more a natural abiding in self, in oneself, in all of the comings and goings. There's just this ease and presence and curiosity, and it's not so much reflective of the self. It's more simple abiding in what is. So the observer or the witness, as refined as it gets, and it will. I certainly have times where I'm more on that, call it progressive path of the observer, and watching and learning and being interested in all the phenomena that comes and the patterns that I have. So it's not that completely goes away. Maybe in full realization, like a master, spiritual teacher, Zen master, whatever, that really does completely fade out. But for most of us, it doesn't. And so it's this relationship we have with presence and naturally being here and settling into this mind-body presence, as well as observing and the observer and what's going on and learning, and yet more and more letting go, simply letting go. So direct experience is just that. It's where thoughts are, for the most part, in abeyance, and there's just this what is, this now, this living in this now. So this is what the theme is tonight, and at this point I think we'll just go ahead and come into discussion about it. This is a good lift-off point for discussion.